Many people believe that discipline is the absolute secret to achieving wealth. From an early age, we hear phrases like, just focus and work hard. But if that were true, the most disciplined people in the world would be among the most prosperous. The reality is different. Thousands of people wake up early, follow rigid routines, and still remain trapped in a cycle of frustration and financial limitations. Napoleon Hill warned that there's a type of discipline that doesn't create millionaires, but rather increasingly tired workers. It's discipline without direction, the kind that makes you waste energy on tasks that have no connection to a greater purpose. The result: years of effort that don't translate into wealth, only fatigue and a growing sense of emptiness. This is the paradox, you see. You can be extremely disciplined and at the same time be building a mediocre life, because discipline, when applied the wrong way, only accelerates your path to a destination you didn't want. The problem isn't trying hard, but not knowing how, where exactly this effort should be taking you. And here's the question that will bother you. Is your discipline today aligned with your true purpose? Or are you simply repeating automatic movements that keep you from prosperity? This is where brutal self-honesty becomes non-negotiable. Without it, you continue to train your mind to accept the prison of unrewarded effort. Hill called this a form of prison disguised as virtue. And that's exactly what so many people experience. Pride in never failing at their routine, but silent shame for not achieving results. The wrong discipline gives the feeling of progress, when in reality it only masks stagnation. It's like running on a treadmill. You sweat, you get tired, but you stay in the same place. Now imagine if every ounce of your effort were directed toward a single, defined purpose. The difference would be stark. Instead of running in circles, you'd be walking in a straight line toward what you truly desire. This is what separates those who build fortunes from those who accumulate frustrations. It's not the discipline itself, but the clarity of the destination it serves. And that's exactly what you'll discover today: how to transform the discipline that once wore you down into a wealth-multiplying force. How to align your daily energy with a purpose that truly expands your life. And, most importantly, how to identify the signs that you're stuck in the wrong discipline so you can have the courage to change course. So, right from the start, I want to invite you to dive in with me until the end of this video. Subscribe to the channel now, turn on notifications, like, and write in the comments, do you believe your current discipline is bringing you closer to, or further from prosperity? Your answer could be the first step toward breaking this invisible cycle and starting to build a truly prosperous life. From a young age, we're taught that discipline is the key to success. We hear stories of people who wake up before sunrise, follow impeccable routines, and never stray from their path. But what no one talks about is that this kind of discipline, when lacking a defined purpose, can be nothing more than an elegant trap. You become a prisoner of a system that consumes your energy without delivering prosperity. Imagine someone who works 10, 12, even 14 hours a day. They never miss work. They're never late. They're the epitome of discipline. But when they look at their bank account, they discover the balance hasn't changed. Daily effort turns into accumulated fatigue, not wealth. This is the portrait of millions of people who confuse routine with progress, believing that repeated effort is synonymous with real progress. This myth of blind discipline creates a dangerous illusion, the feeling of always being busy. The problem is that being busy doesn't mean being productive. You can fill your calendar with commitments and still be wasting the best years of your life on activities that don't change your destiny. It's like rowing a boat hard, but forgetting to check if it's pointing north. Napoleon Hill made it clear that wealth isn't born solely from continuous action, but from purposeful action. Without this alignment, discipline becomes a kind of anesthesia. You feel in control because you repeat patterns, but in reality, you're increasingly distant from financial freedom. Blind discipline may even give you a sense of pride, but it rarely opens the doors to prosperity. The cruelest thing about this myth is that it doesn't fail in an obvious way. On the contrary, it seems to work for a while. You see small results, receive praise for your effort, and believe you're on the right path. But the years pass, and you realize that the distance between what you wanted and what you've achieved only widens. Time becomes the most silent enemy of those who believe in the power of blind discipline. Many continue to believe that one day the results will appear, as if discipline were magic. This indefinite waiting is like harboring a rootless hope. The future never arrives because the present has never been corrected. Hill said that expecting different results by insisting on the same pattern is one of the greatest illusions of the human mind, and this is the illusion that keeps multitudes in the same place. If you look around, you'll notice that the most disciplined aren't always the richest. On the contrary, many of those who thrive have learned to break rigid rules and direct their discipline toward specific opportunities. They're not driven by routine, but by purpose. This is the difference that separates the tireless worker from the wealth builder. Therefore, before taking any step toward prosperity, we must face this uncomfortable truth. Discipline alone is not enough. Without a clear goal, it becomes merely a mechanical effort that consumes without multiplying. From here, we'll delve into what Napoleon Hill really meant when he warned about the error of discipline, and how this understanding can be the turning point in your life. Napoleon Hill, writing Think and Grow Rich, wasn't just offering formulas for accumulating money. He was pointing to a universal principle. Discipline only creates wealth when it serves a defined purpose. This detail, often overlooked, is the key that separates fruitless effort from transformative action. Hill saw blind discipline as a prison and warned his readers about this fatal error. For him, prosperity wasn't the result of repeating movements, but of aligning each decision with a clear destination. He called this definiteness of purpose. When someone acts without clarity, any routine, no matter how perfect it seems, becomes just aimless busy work. It's like constructing a building without a blueprint. No matter how many walls you build, sooner or later everything collapses. Hill observed throughout his life that many brilliant, disciplined, and dedicated men died without ever achieving wealth, not because they lacked effort, but because they lacked focus. Effort without direction is like scattered energy. It illuminates for a moment, but never heats up enough to generate transformation. Discipline, when poorly applied, produces small and fleeting results. His warning was straightforward: don't confuse movement with progress. Many people spend years rushing back and forth, convinced they're making progress, when in reality they're just reinforcing the same limitations. Hill compared this behavior to a cart horse, strong, disciplined, but always circling at someone else's behest. A defined purpose, according to him, is the only force capable of transforming discipline into wealth. Without it, the mind works against you, creating justifications to stay in the same place. It's as if the brain, accustomed to repetition, is unable to perceive how much time and energy is being wasted. Discipline without purpose, therefore, is not only ineffective, it's dangerous. And the danger lurks in the detail, the sense of virtue. The purposeless, disciplined person believes they're on the right path, feels superior for maintaining rigid routines, but doesn't realize they're creating their own stagnation. This is Hill's starkest warning. The wrong discipline doesn't just delay, it silently destroys the potential for prosperity you could achieve. This understanding completely changes the way we look at life. If discipline isn't connected to a higher purpose, it becomes a burden that steals time and vitality. But when directed correctly, it becomes an unshakable driving force, capable of transforming small daily actions into extraordinary results. This is the true secret Hill wanted to reveal, and this is where the inevitable question arises: is your discipline today serving you, or just fueling a system that keeps you stuck? This reflection may be uncomfortable, but it's the starting point for change. In the next few moments, we'll explore how Hill's warning resonates today, in a culture obsessed with hustle and relentless work. In recent years, the hustle or work until you drop culture has gained traction, as if it were the magic solution to success. Social media profiles show entrepreneurs waking up at 4 a.m., filling meticulous schedules, and displaying an almost military-like routine. But the truth is that, for many, this lifestyle doesn't lead to prosperity, but rather to physical and emotional exhaustion. The trap lies in confusing effort with results. Busyness gives the feeling of progress, but in practice, it merely dissipates energy on tasks that don't create real impact. Hustle creates an illusion similar to the blind discipline Hill criticized. Lots of movement, little progress. People spend years chasing goals they don't know where they came from. This lifestyle exacts a heavy toll. Burnout, anxiety, insomnia, and destroyed relationships have become the portrait of a generation that believes that more work hours automatically generate more wealth. Hill, if alive today, would say this is just a modern disguise for the wrong discipline: purposeless effort that consumes more than it multiplies. And here's the bottom line: working hard doesn't guarantee prosperity, but working smart does. Intelligence lies in aligning discipline with a defined purpose. Without this alignment, you become a slave to a busy schedule that saps your energy and doesn't return real growth. This is the invisible contract so many people sign without realizing it. Think about how many people you know who are always busy, but never move up a level. People who collect goals, but not results. This happens because they confuse volume of action with strategic impact. Hustle without purpose is like running on a hamster wheel. There's constant movement, but no real progress. That's why this topic is so important, because you may be trapped in this trap yourself. Perhaps your discipline today is focused on tasks that seem productive, but don't change your financial life at all. This is the reflection that differentiates those who awaken to prosperity from those who continue repeating patterns of scarcity. And since we've come this far, I want to invite you to take a strategic break. If this content resonates with you, subscribe to the channel now, turn on notifications, and like it. And what's more, write in the comments which part of your routine you think consumes the most energy without providing any return. Also, share this video with someone you know who lives in this hustle trap, because the next step on this journey is understanding the invisible price you pay for persisting in the wrong discipline. A cost that doesn't show up on your bank statement, but that silently erodes your opportunities. That's what we'll explore now. The greatest danger of improper discipline is that its cost isn't immediate. It doesn't show up on a bill. It doesn't emerge as a clear charge. It's a silent price, paid in invisible installments over time. Years wasted, dreams shelved, opportunities that pass unnoticed. Hill called this the hidden cost of stagnation. This price can manifest itself in many ways. Financially, it means spending decades building only the wealth of others, while your own remains limited. Emotionally, it means feeling like life is slipping through your fingers without ever achieving the freedom you desired. And psychologically, it means carrying the silent frustration of knowing that all your effort seems in vain. Stories of great ideas that never got off the ground are perfect examples of this cost. How many inventions, businesses, or projects remained just a figment of the imagination because their creators were too busy following routines that led nowhere? This is the tragedy of the wrong discipline. It stifles creativity while demanding blind obedience. Napoleon Hill observed this pattern repeatedly. People with intelligence, talent, and impeccable discipline remained poor because their actions were disconnected from a defined purpose. It's like having a powerful car but driving aimlessly. You burn fuel, expend energy, but get nowhere. And worst of all, you believe you're moving forward. This price also erodes relationships. Excessive dedication to a purposeless routine steals time from family, friends, and even oneself. The disciplined individual without direction becomes a shadow of their own life, always physically present, but emotionally absent. The cost is so high that many only realize it too late. Another aspect of this price is accumulated fatigue. Incorrect discipline not only drains energy, but also reduces the ability to dream. Gradually, the mind begins to believe that great achievements are impossible, creating a spiral of conformity. And this is perhaps the highest price, accepting a mediocre life as if it were destiny. Hill said that every effort needs to be seen as an investment. When discipline is lacking, the investment is made in barren ground, incapable of bearing fruit. And just as a farmer would never insist on planting in infertile soil, you shouldn't persist in routines that don't produce wealth. The question is, can you recognize when this is happening? Because this invisible price, if left unchecked, accumulates until it destroys any potential prosperity you could achieve. But there is a way out. Redirect your discipline toward what truly builds. And that's exactly what we'll talk about next. What truly generates prosperity? If blind discipline is a prison, then what truly opens the doors to prosperity? Hill was categorical. The combination of discipline and a defined purpose. It's not enough to simply repeat actions. Each effort must be connected to a clear vision of the future. Prosperity rises when daily energy is aligned with a greater destiny, capable of giving meaning to every sacrifice. This alignment transforms the simple act of waking up early or working hard into a force multiplier. Because when there's purpose, effort stops being a burden and becomes fuel. The difference is dramatic. The same amount of energy that once merely kept you in the same place now begins to open paths, create opportunities, and build tangible wealth. Napoleon Hill called this definiteness of purpose. He believed that the human mind, when directed toward a clear goal, reorganizes itself to transform intention into reality. In this process, discipline ceases to be an empty routine and becomes a strategy. Each daily act connects like a piece of a large puzzle that, little by little, reveals the complete picture of prosperity. Historical examples prove this principle. Many of those who built fortunes weren't the most disciplined in following rigid rules, but rather those who knew exactly what they wanted and directed their energy toward it. Thomas Edison, Henry Ford, and Andrew Carnegie all understood that purpose and discipline go hand in hand, and that one without the other is simply waste. This is the real secret. Prosperity isn't born of mechanical effort, but of clarity of vision. One person can work fewer hours than another and still achieve more, simply because their discipline is in the service of something greater. What matters is not the quantity of effort, but the quality of the direction in which that effort is applied. When discipline meets purpose, a different feeling emerges. Instead of fatigue, there's enthusiasm. Instead of discouragement, motivation. You begin to realize that each small action has greater value, because you know you're building something meaningful. And this awareness completely changes the way you approach work. This is what generates prosperity, the combination of clarity of purpose and consistency of action. Without clarity, discipline becomes a prison. Without discipline, purpose becomes just a dream. But when the two come together, they create a magnetic field capable of attracting opportunities, resources, and the right people to accelerate your results. And that's the key that separates stagnation from abundance. It's not about doing more, but about doing what matters. From now on, let's delve into what Hill called right discipline, the conscious application that transforms effort into multiplied results. This is where the real turning point happens. When Napoleon Hill spoke about discipline, he wasn't praising the simple act of repeating tasks. He was referring to a conscious, strategic discipline, guided by a defined purpose. This is the kind of discipline that not only keeps you busy, but also directs your energy toward building wealth, step by step, day after day. The right discipline is the one that transforms routine into a foundation. Instead of following external orders or social pressures, you create your own patterns of action based on clear goals. This changes everything. Waking up early is not just an obligation, but a choice that strengthens your vision. Working hard stops being suffering and becomes construction. This kind of discipline is also selective. Hill said it's not about doing everything, but about doing what truly matters. Many people get lost trying to embrace the world, when, in fact, prosperity comes from focusing on a few meaningful goals. It's the concentration of energy, not its dispersion, that generates extraordinary results. Another point is that proper discipline creates consistency without becoming oppressive. It doesn't lock you into a blind routine, but establishes habits that connect you to your purpose. It's like climbing a ladder. Each step may seem small, but they all align to lead you to the top. This consistency is what sustains lasting achievements. Hill also associated proper discipline with an abundance mindset, because by aligning your habits with your purpose, you begin to see concrete results. And this reinforces your confidence that you're on the right path. This confidence is emotional fuel, keeping you going even when obstacles arise. It's important to realize that proper discipline doesn't eliminate effort. It just gives it meaning. You'll still face fatigue, challenges, and doubts, but instead of feeling like you're wasting energy, you'll know that each step has value. This realization is what sustains long-term persistence. And here I want to open up space for you to reflect. In which area of your life do you feel you already practice proper discipline? And in which are you still stuck in empty routines? Write your answer in the comments. This exercise isn't just a detail, but a commitment to yourself. By recording your reflection, you create clarity and take the first step toward change. In the next few moments, we'll elevate this understanding even further, because it's at the climax of this journey that you'll see how the right discipline can transform not just your financial results, but your entire life. Stay tuned, because the turning point is about to happen. Imagine the story of someone who spent years believing that discipline alone would be enough. He woke before dawn, worked until exhaustion, and met every goal he set. In the eyes of everyone, he was an example of dedication. But deep down, he felt frustrated at not seeing his efforts translate into prosperity. This was the before picture. This person believed that time would bring results, but time only brought fatigue. His discipline was impeccable, but it was focused on supporting other people's dreams, never his own. He ran in circles, like an athlete training tirelessly on a closed track, never realizing there's no finish line in front of him. The turning point came when he encountered the concept of definite purpose. For the first time, he realized that he needed not just discipline, but a clear direction to apply his energy. The discovery was painful. It meant admitting that years of effort had been wasted on paths with no future. But it was also liberating, because it opened the opportunity to start over. And that's exactly what he did. He reduced activities that weren't bringing him closer to his goals, and began investing time and discipline in specific actions connected to his purpose. In a short time, the change was visible: greater clarity, more focus, and finally, the first concrete signs of prosperity. The difference between before and after was undeniable. This transformation didn't happen by magic, but by simply exchanging blind discipline for correct discipline. The same effort, when realigned, produced completely different results. It was as if, suddenly, every drop of sweat had value, every sacrifice had meaning. What was once fatigue became multiplying energy. The impact extended beyond the financial. Relationships improved, health regained momentum, and even self-esteem strengthened. Because when discipline connects to purpose, life reorganizes around this new vibration. Prosperity ceases to be just about money and becomes a way of life. This is the power of what Hill called the right discipline. It creates a domino effect, capable of transforming entire areas of life. And perhaps you're at the exact right point to make that shift too. The price of the wrong discipline has already been shown. Now, the question remains, whether you'll continue to cling to it or whether you'll have the courage to rewrite your course. The climax of this journey is precisely this: realizing that the choice has always been in your hands. Discipline isn't the enemy, but it's not enough either. It's the direction you give it that defines your destiny. And in the next step, we'll reveal how to definitively transform effort into lasting wealth. The turning point comes when you realize that effort alone isn't enough, but that focused effort has nearly unlimited power. This is where discipline and purpose meet, transforming each small action into a solid building block for prosperity. Hill said that wealth is the sum of conscious decisions, consistently repeated. When each hour of work has a clear purpose, time stops being an enemy and becomes an ally. What once seemed like a sacrifice without reward becomes an investment. You begin to realize that each correct decision shortens the distance between who you are and who you want to become. This is the secret many never discover. Turning effort into wealth requires self-honesty. It's about looking at your own routine and asking, is what I'm doing today bringing me closer to or further from the life I want? This simple reflection may be uncomfortable, but it's what separates those who awaken to abundance from those who remain trapped in the illusion of blind discipline. And transformation doesn't happen all at once, but in layers. First, you eliminate excess useless activities. Then, you focus your energy on strategic tasks. Over time, this focus creates a positive snowball effect. Small gains accumulate until they become big results. Prosperity is never the result of luck, but of focused consistency. The impact of this is visible in all areas of life. Proper discipline brings more quality time, clearer decisions, and a sense of real growth. Wealth, in this context, ceases to be just a matter of money and becomes a reflection of balance, purpose, and expansion. Prosperity becomes a lifestyle. It's at this point that you realize your effort wasn't in vain. Even years of blind discipline can be reframed as learning experiences, as long as you choose to realign your energy now. Because, as Hill taught, it's never too late to correct your course. The right discipline applied today can make up for decades of wrongdoing. And that's true power, knowing that life can be rewritten at any moment. It doesn't matter how much time you've already spent on efforts without return. What matters is the decision you make from now on. If you choose to align discipline with your defined purpose, you'll be opening the doors to a new phase of prosperity. It is precisely this transition that brings us to the conclusion of this journey. Now that you understand the difference between blind discipline and correct discipline, the next step is to visualize how to apply this to your life. Because true wealth lies not just in hard work, but in working with direction. We've reached the end of this journey, and perhaps the greatest revelation was realizing that discipline alone isn't the key to prosperity. It can be nothing more than an invisible prison if it's not connected to a defined purpose. Hill already warned, the wrong discipline creates only exhausted workers, never wealth builders. This is the truth that few have the courage to face. But we've also seen that the way out is always within reach. The same effort that might be draining your strength today can be transformed into multiplying energy tomorrow. The difference isn't in the volume of work, but in the clarity of the destination you choose for each step. Purpose is the compass, and discipline is the fuel that gets you there. Now, take a deep breath and imagine yourself a few years from now. Visualize a life where every hour invested bears tangible fruit, where your discipline is directed toward building not just money, but also freedom, balance, and impact. This is the future that begins when you decide to break free from the illusion of blind discipline and embrace the right kind. And that decision starts here, If this video resonated with you, subscribe to the channel now, turn on notifications, and like it. Write in the comments what insight resonated most with you today. Your reflection may inspire others who, like you, are seeking to break this invisible cycle. And what's more, share this video with someone who needs to hear this message right now. Because this journey doesn't end here. What you learned today is just one part of the puzzle. There's another principle that directly connects to this. Hill's hidden code. Without it, a defined purpose and proper discipline lack their full power. And that's exactly what I talk about in another video. Don't stop here. After you're done, go watch the video about Napoleon Hill's hidden code. Together, you'll discover the missing detail that transforms purpose and discipline into a virtually unbeatable force. This is the piece that completes what we've discussed today. The future isn't built by leaps and bounds, but by consistent choices. And today you have before you the chance to choose a new way to apply your discipline. One that creates, expands, and multiplies. The decision is simple. Continue in the wheel of blind effort or take the first step toward real prosperity. I hope you choose the second option. And if this content resonated with you, remember, we're building a community of people who have decided to transform their mindset toward abundance. So, before you leave, prepare for the next step. The video about those hidden code is waiting for you.